Well, I think the law of attraction and manifesting are the same thing. So law of attraction, for everybody who has not read The Secret, is simply your thoughts become things. And it's true. We've talked all about how when you have a negative self-talk, it tends to draw more of that to you. I think about it like lint in a dryer. Once negative stuff starts collecting, it collects a lot more. We can also talk about your brain filter, something called the Reticular Activity System, and how it is a live network that filters the brain. We'll dig into that deeper, but let's do surface level right now, manifesting, law of attraction. So here's what everybody gets wrong about manifesting. Everybody, at least kind of in the mass market, what you're trained to think about when you think about manifesting is vision boards. And when you hear the word vision boards, you think about the big stuff. Should you have big dreams? Of course you should. Should you dream of building a mansion on the ocean if that's your thing? Yes. Should you dream of the log cabin? Yes. If you want a Lamborghini or the new Ford Bronco, should you put? Yeah. Yes, yes, yes. If you want the family, if you want the body, should you think about? Yeah, absolutely. Here's where everybody goes wrong. You dream about the end. You make this gorgeous collage of all this stuff that has nothing to do with your current life. That literally, as you're sitting in your studio apartment with the cat box that hasn't been changed in 2 weeks.
No food in the fridge.
No food in the fridge. And you're looking for a job and you're staring at a mansion going, someday, it's going to make you feel like a loser.
Yeah.
Because the gap between where you are and where you want to go, it seems insurmountable. And so what happens, based on the research, is when you only visualize the end game, Lewis, it's demotivating. At first, it's really fun to like have a bottle of wine and make your like collage. I'm gonna visualize. I'm gonna slap this up. There's my vision board. It's fabulous. Law of attraction, baby. Come on. I'm gonna think about it. It's gonna come to me. Okay, I've been doing this for 2 days. I'm still in this apartment with the cat box that needs to be changed. The way to visualize properly is to visualize the bridge between where you are and where you need to go.
The bridge.
Yes, and particularly the horrible stuff. So let's use your example of the marathon. The vision board would be Lewis crossing.
With the arms up at the metal.
The arms up at the metal. Exactly.
High fives. Yeah,
high fives.
I did it.
Yes, I did it. Exactly. That will not help you. Because when you hit mile 13 on the actual race and it is sleeting rain.
You're just saying, why am I doing this?
Yes, and it feels nothing like that thing on your vision board. You're going to start a negative dialogue. I can't do this. My knees hurt. This is not what I thought it was going to be. I'm not ready for this. I didn't train for this. I'm running New York. I trained in LA. Are you running in New York?
LA.
Okay, good. Well, then at least you trained in the right weather.
Yeah.
So on and on and on, and you are going to tank yourself. What you do by visualizing the bridge is you train your nervous system and your mind to do the hard work. So you should visualize not crossing the finish line, but what is it like to be at mile 12 when your batteries run out on your earbuds?
Yeah.
No, I'm serious.
Yeah.
And you keep going. What's it like when your shoelace breaks and now your heel is lifting and you're starting to get a blood blister at mile 17? What's it feel like when you wake up and it is pouring rain and you visualize yourself running anyway? That way, when you visualize the work, you are preparing your body for it so you're not resistant to it when it comes.
Yeah.
Isn't that cool?
I think it's great. It's a story that I had George St. Pierre, who's one of the greatest UFC fighters of all time. He said that he always puts himself in the most uncomfortable situations in practice leading up to the fight. The hardest situations to get himself out of. When his arms are behind his back and he's face against the mat and in between the fence and he's just getting punched in the face. He's like, how do I get out of this?
Right, right.
He's like, visualize that and seeing how can I get through this?
Yeah, yeah, exactly.
When it seems like I just want to tap out.
Yes.
And instead of tapping out, what's the process for figuring out how to get through it?
Yeah.
To then raise my hand at the end victorious.
Totally. And so you are literally building up almost like this resilience and this muscle inside of you to do the work to get the thing. So yeah, create the vision board, but make sure in addition to crossing the finish line, you have somebody running in the rain. Right. You have somebody you have an alarm clock that says 5:13. You have, these images that show the stuff that you don't want to do. So like for people who want to launch a business, for example, Like a lot of people that I'm sure follow both of us are dying to launch a business or interested in being an influencer, social media, or making money online. And what you visualize are the checks, or you visualize the money you're going to make, or you visualize how cool it's going to be when you're a lifestyle entrepreneur, whatever the hell it is. Don't do that. Visualize working a day job and telling your friends that you're not going to go out tonight because you're working on something.
Yeah.
Visualize making cold calls and being told no. Visualize not going to that party because you're staying in on a Saturday and not going to the barbecue because you're putting in the work.
Yeah.
Visualize sitting at a seminar and learning from other people. Visualize watching YouTube videos. Visualize your first ever course failing miserably.
Right.
Like literally, that's the sort of thing that you want to visualize yourself doing and pushing through, because that's going to help you do the work.
Yeah.
Isn't that cool?
I think that's great. Yeah, visualizing. So in order to manifest what you want, don't just visualize the good things happening, visualize the bridge, all the things it's going to take to get
Yes,
there.
and the hard parts of the bridge, because then you're ready for it. Then you're like, I didn't expect this to be this hard. I mean, it's still going to be hard,
Right.
but you're less likely to quit.
Yes. So what have you done in the last 5 years to help you manifest after the first book? Were you doing this as well, or kind of once you get on a rhythm and build momentum, does it become easier to manifest, in your opinion?
Well, so I am constantly training my mind to work for me. And there's this little trick that I talk about in the book that is all sort of the beginning of having a high five attitude. And a high five attitude is the ability to catch yourself when you're going mentally low and to flip yourself back up into a high five attitude.
Okay.
The thing that I know to be true is that you cannot control the things around you. You can't control what's going to happen. You can't even control how your nervous system might respond or what thoughts might pop into your head. But you can always choose what you do next and what you make it mean, right? And so that's where all the power is.
Yes.
And so I do this thing where this is, again, it's going to sound so dumb, but it's a way for me to introduce you to the power that your mind has to change in real time.
Okay.
We've talked a lot about negative self-talk. And part of the reason why negative self-talk is so crippling is not only because you've repeated it for so long and now it's a pattern, but it's also because you have a filter on your brain called the Reticular Activity System, okay? This puppy is the keys to everything. And it's remarkable that most of us have never heard of it. We've experienced it, but we don't know how to use it to our advantage. So first, let me tell you what the RAS does. Then I'm going to give you an example of when you've experienced it in your life. And then I'm going to explain to you how to use it to get what you want in life. This is like the super attractor manifesting, and it also works for interrupting negative self-talk. Like it's going to supercharge all the work you're doing with the mirror and interrupting thoughts. So first, let's talk about the RAS. So the RAS, imagine a hairnet on your brain, only it's like electric, meaning it's alive, okay? Now, the RAS has one job, and the job is block out 99% of what's going on and let in 1% of what's going on. Our brains at this moment in history are having to process about 34 days worth of cell phone data in one day.
Crazy.
It's crazy. And so your RAS has a monster job. It's like a bouncer at a bar. You're not coming in, you can come in. And you've experienced this. So have you ever shopped for a car?
Yes.
Okay, so what's the last car you bought?
Tesla.
Oh, Tesla. Oh, fancy.
Yeah,
Lewis House. I like that.
Well, I never had a nice car until 3 years ago. I had a $4,000 car for 5 years before that.
Yeah.
And then I was like, you know what? I have no Bluetooth. It's like, I just needed an upgrade.
No, I love it.
It was a 1991.
Dude, you deserve it.
I had a 1991
deserve
Cadillac.
it.
And I was like, okay,
You
let me
deserve
buy
it.
a car. So I bought a Tesla, yeah.
Right. And so before you thought about buying a Tesla, you drive down the road, you don't really think about it. The second you're like, I think I'm interested in a Tesla, what do you see everywhere?
Teslas.
Yes, everywhere.
Everywhere.
My husband just bought a pickup truck. I never even noticed them. Now I'm like, there are baby blue pickup trucks everywhere. What is going on? That's the bouncer in your brain. And let me tell you how this works. There are only 4 things that automatically get through the bouncer in your brain, the RAS. Number 1, your name. So you've experienced being in a crowded place and somebody's like, you think you hear Lewis and you're like, huh? Somebody call my name? That was the bouncer in your brain. The second thing that always gets let in is any threat to your safety. So there are loud noises all the time, but only ones in close proximity make you go like this. That was the bouncer in your brain letting it in.
Okay.
The third thing that gets let in is when you sense that your partner is interested in sex with you or somebody else. You're like, Chris, who are you looking? Stop looking at her. You know what I'm saying? You kind of pick up on the signals. That's the bouncer in your brain. And the fourth one, and this is the $1 billion thing that everybody needs to know. The bouncer in your brain lets in whatever you think is important to you. So when you get intentional about telling your brain what's important to you, like, I'm interested in a Tesla, your brain's literally like, oh, let all the Teslas in. Come on in. Here's the downside to this. If you have told yourself that you are a bad person for the last 10 years, guess what your brain thinks is important? Examples that mean you're a bad person.
Right.
So I'm going to give you a very specific example. So I personally don't think I'm a bad person. I don't think I'm perfect, but I know I do my best. I mean well. I don't have that story about myself at all. I used to, but I don't. And let's say I oversleep and I miss the dentist. I miss the dentist appointment. I'm like, oh, I got to pay the $25. I got to reschedule that thing. That kind of blows. That's all I think. And then I go on. My daughter, who constantly beats herself up and says she's a bad person, this is a real example, by the way. She oversleeps, misses a dentist appointment, and it becomes, see, I always screw everything up. I'm always messing things up. Like everything that gets let in confirms that you're a bad person.
She finds proof and evidence.
Yes, that's the bouncer in your mind. I'm here to tell you that when you get intentional about what you want to think about yourself, it changes in real time what your brain lets in and what it doesn't.
Yeah.
That helps you with the other things that you're doing. The high five in the mirror, the I'm not thinking about that, the pathetic mantra. Hey, just because I missed the dentist appointment doesn't mean I'm a bad person.
Yeah.
I'm doing the best I can here. Give myself a break.
Right.
High five. You know what I'm saying? Shake it off. Get back in there. It's true, right?
Right.
Because it's these little things. Somebody cuts you off. Somebody reaches for the last thing of cereal that you wanted to buy at the grocery store. You think it's like a sign that the world's out to get you. This is all your story and your mind skewing the world to prove all of the stuff you keep repeating. And the only way to get a handle on it is to start acting the opposite. Like high five yourself, even though you don't feel like it. Interrupt the crap that you keep saying. Put your hands on your heart and settle your body down.
Yeah.
All of these things are things that somebody does when they care about themselves, when they think they deserve to be treated with kindness, when they think they deserve support, and when they realize they need it. And when you start to build yourself back up, you'll show up very differently in other relationships.
Absolutely.
If you tolerate this kind of treatment from yourself, you'll tolerate it from other people. It does begin with you. So let me draw a distinction between the importance of dreaming and the power of manifesting. So dreaming in terms of not what you're doing at night, but dreaming and giving yourself permission to desire things, to have incredible, magical things occur in your life. Giving yourself permission to let your mind, body, and spirit wander into the future and to imagine a life that really lights you up. That's so important because those dreams are deeply connected to your soul. Like you won't dream about something that's not meant for you. I'm not dreaming right now about a penthouse apartment in New York City. I don't want to live there right now. So that's not going to come to me. But, when you allow yourself and your mind and spirit to wander forward and just allow yourself and give yourself permission to imagine, what's amazing is you plant a beacon out into the future. And that beacon, whether it's a beach house or it's a loving relationship or it's healing, past trauma, or it's launching your dream business, or it's just waking up and being happier and healthier and surrounded by all these amazing people. Whatever that dream is, you got to allow yourself to dream it, because it acts as a mechanism that starts to pull you toward it, and it will pull you through your fear. It will create tension in your life because it's going to make you start to wake up and pay attention to it. That's where a vision board comes in. And a vision board, yeah, most of us make a vision board and we put up the beach house or the Range Rover or the amazing log cabin or the trip to Disney World or the dream business that we want, whatever it is the things are that we want, the loving relationship. But then this is where we make the biggest mistake, because manifesting isn't the dream. Manifesting is the bridge between where you are and where you want to go. Manifesting is the bricks that form the pathway that connect you there. And most of us have been led to believe that we need to sit quietly and with vibrational force feel ourselves sitting on the deck of that beach house and how it's going to feel when the wind is in our hair. And what happens when you do it that way is that you socialize your mind and body to the end, when the fact is it's going to be a bazillion little irritating steps that get you there.
Yes.
And we skip that part.
So I love this. I just want to underscore this, because when we were doing the Everything is Figure Outable book tour, and I did this event and I had people close their eyes and visualize themselves figuring it out, whatever their dream was, we actually did that. I was like, I want you to see yourself taking those steps. And I loved how you broke this down in the book. I thought it was so great because, yeah, it's one thing to go, yay, we crossed the finish line and there's the house or the relationship or the health or the trip or whatever.
Right.
But to rehearse in your mind's eye, emotionally, visually, intellectually, seeing yourself doing the steps. So if it's writing a book, sitting at your table and maybe sweating a little because you don't think you're a very good writer, but showing up anyway, or getting up when the alarm goes off and putting your sneakers on, and all of those different little micro actions. Even if it's a healthy relationship, for me, there's been times where if what I want to shift and change is a reaction that I've had to something, seeing myself with the same situation that could trigger me in the past and visualizing myself behaving differently, feeling differently, watching it. Those are the steps that help me create that shift where it actually happens. So I just wanted to praise you, acknowledge you, and underscore how awesome this is, because your mind is so powerful. Our brains are so incredibly miraculous, but we're not given the instruction kits on how to use them.
Yes, exactly. So, you want to launch a business, visualize yourself telling your friends you can't come out tonight because you're going to work on something. Visualize yourself hitting that post and then feeling the fear that people are going to judge you when you start posting about something different than your kids or your dream vacations and you start posting about your business. Visualize yourself spending a Saturday while the kids are playing soccer working on something. Visualize yourself hearing no and feeling discouraged and then picking up the phone and making the next phone call. There's something called the Zygarnic Effect in your brain. It's like a little to-do list, a checklist that your brain keeps intact in your mind. And your brain, once you start to socialize your mind, body, and spirit to all these little irritating steps, like you want to run a marathon, don't visualize the finish. Visualize yourself at mile 11 on a training run, and it starts to rain and your earbud batteries die. And you keep going.
Yes.
When you do that, what you're doing is you're smoothing out your resistance to all this work that it's going to require to make this stuff happen. Because you are capable. You can figure it out. And you can use simple tools backed by science to lower the resistance in your body and mind to actually doing the things that you've never done before. Mantras don't work if you're picking a mantra you don't believe, and if you're picking a mantra that is the opposite of the way you treat yourself and the actions you take. So that's number one. Number two, manifesting. Everybody has been sold a bill of goods about manifesting. If you make a vision board with your house on the ocean
or you at the stock exchange ringing the bell, and that's all that you have on it, science says that that vision board will become a source of profound discouragement. Because over time, as you sit there and stare at your dream house or you ringing the bell at NASDAQ and nothing in your life changes, you start to feel further and further and further away from what you want, which makes you feel further and further discouraged, which means you're less and less motivated to even begin working on it. Like the hardest part for everybody is to start. And the reason why is not only the patterns of procrastination and anxiety and stuff that you get trapped in, but it's also because your goals feel so far away that you don't believe that just starting is going to even chip away at it. And so, number one, because it sounds like I just contradicted myself. Yes, you need to have something like a beach house or the NASDAQ bell or the business you're starting or the love affair of your life or the family you've always envisioned or the health that you've always dreamt about. Absolutely. Swing for the fences. What do you want it to look like 10 years from now? But when it comes to manifesting based on science, I want you to think as manifesting as a bridge. Manifesting is a bridge that's made of bricks between you and the thing that you dream about. And what you do when you manifest is you don't manifest where the bridge is going. You manifest the bricks. So a great example is a marathon. So let's say that you've never run a day in your life, but your bucket list is to complete the London Marathon. Yes, you can put on your vision board a photograph of a runner crossing the London Marathon. You can even put the dream that you have in terms of the number that you want the time to be, okay? But you better put a runner in the rain up there. You better put an alarm clock that says 4:30 in the morning because that's what time you're going to have to get up in order to get your training runs in. You better put a runner that's gripping their leg like this when they get a muscle cramp. You better put up, a vision of you at mile 13 and your earbuds run out and you still got 2 more miles to go. Visualization is the bricks. And so what I want you to do when you visualize is instead of visualizing, the marathon, I did it, oh, it's amazing. And then you open up, you're like, okay, and I still have not even bought a pair of sneakers. That's not happening, but that was a fun little exercise. No, what you do is you literally visualize, walk into the store and get sneakers. Call your friend who runs and ask for advice. Oh my God, that's me on my first training run. I've only gone 30 seconds and I'm out of breath. Oh, there I am running 3 miles in the rain and I feel proud of myself because I've actually gone out in the rain. Oh, there I am saying no to my friends. I can't go out tonight because I didn't get my run in, but I'm going to go on my big run alone. That, like, you visualize the annoying, irritating, amazing things. If you expect to achieve your goals, if you expect to reach your potential, if you expect to have your dreams come true, what I'm about to explain to you is mission critical. You must become a master at visualization. Now, for those of you that are like, what the heck is she talking about? I did not sign up for some sort of meditation, woo-woo spiritual thing here. Don't worry. This is Mel Robbins. There's always science and research involved in everything that I talk about. So visualization is an extraordinarily powerful skill. And you may have heard of the law of attraction. You may have heard of the word visualization. You may have heard of the word manifesting. I call it seeing signs. So I'm a master at seeing positive signs. I am a master of creating coincidences. I have the world's most incredible luck. You want to know why? Because I understand the science and the skill of visualization. I know that your brain, it is a gigantic detective machine. Your brain is a filter. your brain is constantly looking for evidence. And that's good news. It's good news when you know how to use it to your advantage. Let me explain. So your brain has a system in it. Here's the technical term. It's called the reticular activating system. It is a network of neurons all up in here. And what is the job of the reticular activating system? It is a filter system. It's basically a system that allows certain information in your brain and it blocks out other information. And guess who programmed that filter? You did. And so did the people from your past. And so if you constantly feel like you're unlovable, guess what? Your reticular activating system is going through the day and it is going to point out every single piece of evidence that confirms that negative belief that you have. If you think that people don't like you at work, the reticular activating system, the filter, it is literally going to be looking for evidence to confirm that belief all day long. This is one of the reasons why we have such a problem with politics in this country. This is why there's something called a confirmation bias. Confirmation bias means your mind loves to read things that you agree with, because reading things that you agree with confirms your filter. Why do we have a reticular activating system? There's a really important reason why you have this. The reason why is if your brain let in everything. Have you ever looked at a Facebook page? Have you noticed how many words are on a standard Facebook page, and the ad over here and the ad over here and the ad over here and the ad and the news feed right here and the stuff up here and all this over here? If your brain took in everything at equal value, your head would literally explode off your shoulders. Your brain would melt down. And so the reticular activating system protects your brain by filtering information and only letting in stuff that it agrees with. So that's the scientific reason and mandate for why you got to get busy reprogramming that thing. Because if you live like I have lived for a very long time, one of the beliefs that I had, we're going to be talking about this a lot this month, one of the beliefs that I had for a very long time is that I was a bad person, that I was not lovable, that I did not deserve to be a good person, that people didn't think I was a good person. And consequently, that led me to do a lot of hurtful things to myself. It led me to do a lot of hurtful things to people that I cared about. And it really damaged decades of my life. And I believed it. I believed it, and it drove my actions, and I saw evidence everywhere. If you're going to do a mindset reset, you've got to change what you believe about yourself. And so for those of you that had a very negative assessment of 2018 and you're feeling down about your goals already as you look at 2019, you have a very negative belief system about yourself. And that's going to stop right now, because now we're going to talk about visualization and how you use it in order to start to reprogram the reticular activating system in your brain so that your brain starts to spot opportunity. Your brain starts to spot evidence that things are working out. Your brain starts to spot coincidences so you can build momentum. And it begins with visualization. So as you take your goals, right? So you've written down all these goals, right, for 2019. I want you to go to each one, and I want you to do a visualization exercise. And here's how you're going to do it based on science, because there's a particular way you have to do this based on science, okay? It's a two-step method. So let's take self-worth, because we had a question about self-worth. If your goal is to improve your self-worth, I want you to visualize what your life looks like and how you're going to feel about yourself when your self-worth has improved. Here's how you're going to do it. So there's two things that you have to do when it comes to visualization. You have to close your eyes. Truly, I know it sounds stupid, but I want you to close your eyes, and I want you to, in your mind, have a specific picture of what it looks like in your life when your self-worth has improved. You're going to see yourself speaking up at work. You're going to see yourself talking more about your business. You're going to see yourself leaving bad relationships. You're going to see yourself defining boundaries. You're going to see yourself going to the gym. You're going to see yourself taking care of yourself. And when you start to visualize the image of that, I want you to consciously, this is step 2, consciously think of the positive emotions that you're going to feel. I'm going to feel happy. I'm going to feel proud. I'm going to stand taller. I'm going to be so grateful that I made this change. Marrying the specific picture. Oh, there I am. There I am. I'm at work and I'm raising my hand. Amazing. I'm sharing my idea. There I am. I'm getting a promotion. There I am asking for a raise. There I am. I've just signed up another customer to my business. There I am. I've gone back to school. I feel so good about myself. When you do that, here's what's actually happening in your brain. This is the cool science part. You are training your brain to have a totally different filter. You see, your brain, my brain, it doesn't know the difference between something that actually happened to you, like the F you got in your test in 10th grade, and the things you imagine that are happening to you. Let me say that again. Your brain doesn't know the difference between the bad things that actually happened to you, the real memories that you have, and an imagined memory that you're creating. Your brain will experience you visualizing going to the gym, you visualizing how happy you feel when you do, you visualizing asking for that raise and getting it and how proud you're going to feel. Your brain, when you visualize in the way that I'm teaching you to, it encodes it as a real memory. And that's important because when you encode it as a real memory, it changes the filter system, that reticular activating system. And here's what we know based on research. The more you visualize things, number one, the greater your confidence is going to be, the greater security you're going to have about it. And here's the really cool thing. The more you do this with your goals, you wake up every day and you just visualize. It takes 30 freaking seconds, for crying out loud. You visualize having a great day at school. You visualize curing your panic and how proud you're going to be. What studies suggest and have proven is that simply visualizing yourself doing things actually develops the skill and helps you improve the skills, just as if you were actually doing it. And so there's proof based on research that visualization helps you build skills. And then finally, the other thing that's really important about this is that the more that you do this, what we know based on research is that the reason why you start to believe what you think is because you are reprogramming your brain. You are changing the network of neurons that act as a filter. And so the more that you actually believe in yourself and you start thinking and visualizing yourself speaking up, the more confident you're going to become, the more skills that you're building, and you're actually going to do it. And then instead of looking for all the reasons when you're sitting in a meeting to not speak up, you're going to just speak up because you're going to have changed the filter. You're going to look for opportunities. This is how it works. This is why this is so incredibly important. If your goal is to improve your self-worth, I want you to visualize what your life looks like and how you're going to feel about yourself when your self-worth has improved. Here's how you're going to do it. So there's two things that you have to do when it comes to visualization. You have to close your eyes. Truly, I know it sounds stupid, but I want you to close your eyes and I want you to, in your mind, have a specific picture of what it looks like in your life when your self-worth has improved. You're going to see yourself speaking up at work. You're going to see yourself talking more about your business. You're going to see yourself leaving bad relationships. You're going to see yourself defining boundaries. You're going to see yourself going to the gym. You're going to see yourself taking care of yourself. And when you start to visualize the image of that, I want you to consciously, this is step 2, consciously think of the positive emotions that you're going to feel. I'm going to feel happy. I'm going to feel proud. I'm going to stand taller. I'm going to be so grateful that I made this change. Marrying the specific picture. Oh, there I am. There I am. I'm at work and I'm raising my hand. Amazing. I'm sharing my idea. There I am. I'm getting a promotion. There I am asking for a raise. There I am. I've just signed up another customer to my business. There I am. I've gone back to school. I feel so good about myself. When you do that, here's what's actually happening in your brain. This is the cool science part. You are training your brain to have a totally different filter. You see, your brain, my brain, it doesn't know the difference between something that actually happened to you, like the F you got in your test in 10th grade, and the things you imagine that are happening to you. Let me say that again. Your brain doesn't know the difference between the bad things that actually happened to you, the real memories that you have, and an imagined memory that you're creating. Your brain will experience you visualizing going to the gym, you visualizing how happy you feel when you do, you visualizing asking for that raise and getting it and how proud you're going to feel. Your brain, when you visualize in the way that I'm teaching you to, it encodes it as a real memory. And that's important because when you encode it as a real memory, it changes the filter system, that reticular activating system. And here's what we know based on research. The more you visualize things, number one, the greater your confidence is going to be, the greater security you're going to have about it. And here's the really cool thing. The more you do this with your goals, you wake up every day and you just visualize. It takes 30 freaking seconds, for crying out loud. You visualize having a great day at school. You visualize curing your panic and how proud you're going to be. What studies suggest and have proven is that simply visualizing yourself doing things actually develops the skill and helps you improve the skills, just as if you were actually doing it. Because I know the single thing that's holding you back is how you think. You have the ability to set goals. You have the ability to take the actions that change your life. You have the ability to have the conversations that scare the hell out of you. You have the ability to end relationships. You have the ability to write a book. You have the ability to do a Google search. You have the ability to change anything you want. But the only reason why you don't is because your mindset blows. And so day one, I want you to go through all the goals that you set. And I want you every single day throughout the next 30 days, you are going to spend 30 seconds. Your dreams deserve 30 seconds, don't you think? You're going to close your eyes and you're going to visualize, what does it look like in your life when you have achieved your monetary goals this year? How does it feel to go to the bank and see that balance? How does it feel to be able to write that check and take your kids to Disney World on money that you made? How does it feel to be able to rent your own place or put down a down payment for the house you've always dreamt of? How does it feel to be able to have saved enough money so you can quit the job that you hate and launch the business because you have achieved your goals? It feels darn good. That's how it feels. And I want you to just savor that, because what you're doing when you visualize is you're reprogramming your reticular activating system, that system of neurons, that network that acts like a filter in your brain so that it's spotting opportunity, so that it is helping you see evidence that you are confident, that you are capable, that you can do this, instead of all the garbage you think right now. You've got to make your visual board. It's a really powerful thing to do for sure. But then I want you to visualize yourself every day doing the steps leading up to it. This is research from UCLA. And I want you to allow yourself to feel the emotions. Feel the emotions that you will feel as you're doing those things. Feel pride. Feel excited. Feel yourself being empowered because you went out and ran in the rain. That is critical. If you want to know more about visualization,
if I did this amazing video for our program Mindset Reset, and if you go to YouTube and you literally just type in the words Mel Robbins visualization, you will find a video that we did all about the science of visualization that covers this research in tremendous detail. You can also go to the 5secondjournal.com if you don't already have a 5-second journal, and you can download the journaling sheets for free. And it's a super simple way to journal. Which way? Okay. Super simple way to journal. These questions take you less than 5 seconds to answer, and they're designed to get you to do the tiny things every day that help you make progress on your goals. I know you can do it. You gotta look and recognize what is the fear that's holding you back, and it's always deeper than the excuses. Oh, I procrastinate. Oh, I would rather watch Netflix. Oh, I'm intimidated. There's something deeper. Figure it out, unearth it. And then we want to use thought reversal and visualization to remember why you want this, and use the why and why you're inspired to do this as a way to anchor you as you visualize using science. And again, make your vision board, yes, but visualize yourself doing the work and feel the emotions associated with doing the work. And research shows that when you visualize yourself doing the steps to take and make your vision come true, will make you scientifically more likely to succeed than just simply visualizing the outcome. Awesome, 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 awesome. Picture yourself tying your shoes, putting on your leggings, running to the end of the block and back. All of that stuff counts. And here's another quick tip for those of you that are struggling with exercise. You can use something that I call an environmental trigger. An environmental trigger is a positive trigger that you place in your way to remind you of your goal. Every night, Margot, before you go to bed, lay your running clothes out on the floor of your closet. When you walk in that next morning, boom! What's the trigger right there? And you want to have a bigger trigger? Put out your favorite picture of your brother right there too. I'm trying not to cry. Here's why visualization works. I'm going to make this last point, and then we're going to jump into today's lesson, which is about the 2 modes that your brain operates in, and why it is essential for you to understand these 2 modes in order to change your mindset, and also how you can start to switch in between the 2 modes of your brain. Super cool stuff. But first, for Shelley, she visualized herself doing a 10K walk in 6 months, and I bet she felt very happy and very proud as she did that. Why is that important? The reason why visualization and picturing yourself succeeding and allowing yourself to feel the happiness and the pride that comes with picturing a positive future. The reason why that's as important is, let's say Shelley does that every single day this week. Every day she wakes up, she walks for 5 minutes, and as she's walking on that treadmill, she's visualizing herself finishing a 10K in 6 months and how proud she is. Every time she does that, she is changing what's going on up here. This isn't something I made up. This is true. And it's not only true based on science, but let's think about this from a common sense perspective. If Shelley wakes up, or if you wake up every single morning, and instead of thinking about the worst case, instead of looking at your body in the mirror and going, I'm so fat, I'm so out of shape, I'll never run a 10K, this is never going to happen, why didn't I exercise last year, I hate my flabby stomach, I hate my big thighs, I hate how out of shape, I'm embarrassed to go, if that's what you're thinking, then that is what you're allowing your brain to continue to filter the world through. If you start teaching yourself the skill of visualizing a positive outcome and feeling the pride that comes with achieving that positive goal, what happens for you right now is you start to think like the kind of person that does a 10K. If after an entire week, what Shelley does is she looks in the mirror and she goes, I'm getting stronger every day. I'm really proud of myself. Even though I'm feeling flabby, I'm not saying you're flabby, Shelley, but even though I'm feeling flabby, I'm doing the work. I can do this. What happens a week from now is when she sees a registration for a 10K, the old mind that wasn't programmed correctly would go, oh, you're fat, you're out of shape, you're not prepared for that, don't sign up. But the new mind, because she's been visualizing every single day, The new mind, just 7 to 10 days later, is going to go, oh, wait a minute, I'm in shape. I'm proud. I'm doing this. Why don't you sign up? It's going to filter the world in a very different way because you're training it to. This is the heart of doing a mindset reset. And this is why visualization works and why it's an important step and why I'm so glad you're doing it.
I want to talk about like a buzzword that's big in the personal development space now, and that's manifestation. And I know you talk a lot about it, but I think a lot of people get manifesting wrong in that they think that, oh, I'm just going to write something down, I'm going to say a prayer, and then things are going to come to me. And to me, I think that's total BS. I think you have to take action. What's your opinion on manifesting, and how can somebody do it the right way?
Manifesting is an incredibly important tool in your toolkit for a fulfilling and happy life. And most of us are doing it wrong. So, manifesting done properly is the process by which you train your mind, body, and spirit to help you get what you want. Manifesting is not based on the research, thinking about something and then it suddenly magically happens. And, since so many of your listeners are, people who are very, spiritual and faithful, I'm sure you've had an experience where you've prayed and prayed and prayed for something and it's not coming, it's not coming, it's not coming. You go through the worst experience or breakdown of your life. I bet jail and getting arrested was probably this for you. And then it's 10 years later that you look back and go, oh my God, my prayers were answered, just not in the manner in which I had been praying they would be answered. And so what I want you to understand is that if you want to use manifesting, here's how you're going to do it. Don't think about the end. Don't think about the mansion you want to buy. Don't think about the soulmate that you're going to meet. Don't think about the finish line on the marathon, because thinking about the end doesn't help your mind, body, and spirit prepare you to do the work to get it. There are no, get out of jail free cards in life. There just aren't. You're going to have to put in the work to get the real results that you want. And so what you do when you manifest properly is you're going to visualize the bridge or the path in between where you are today and where you want to go. So, why don't you pick something that you want, Doug? What's a goal of yours for this year?
Oh, let's see. A goal of mine for this year is I want to get my podcast to a point where it's helping tens of thousands of people.
Okay. So you just said that I want to get my podcast to a point that it's helping tens of thousands of people. Now that you have identified what your goal is, let's back up to the present moment and let's do step 2. Step 2 is, now I want you to close your eyes and I want you to visualize what are all of the tedious, annoying, boring, hard things that you need to do that you're either not doing now or you need to do more of. Start to list them out.
Being more consistent on social media, engaging with other podcasters, just being consistent and practicing patience, getting more creative, and not being scared to invest money.
That's the big one.
Right.
That's the big one. So you just said that you needed to be more patient. You needed to stop being afraid to invest money. You needed to connect with more podcasters. You needed to be on social media more. Now, what you do, now that you have a list of all the things that you need to be doing that you're not doing or you're not doing enough of, and for a lot of people, they don't know. Okay, well, I don't know. I know what I want, but I don't know what the work is. Just find somebody on social media or out in the world who has the thing that you want, study what they did, and write all those things down as an action. But generally, there are videos you can watch, there are events you can go to, there are webinars that you can take, there are books that you can read. The information of what to do is out there. So how do you use visualization now that you know what you want and you know some of the actions that you need to take that will take you in a path leading toward what you want? Well, now what you do is every single morning, you're going to add to your morning routine, writing down 5 things that you want. And one of those things is going to be, I want whatever it is that the goal is. In your case, it is, I want my podcast to reach tens of thousands of people, right? Then the why, you know, why you want to do that. Why do you want to reach tens of thousands of people, Doug?
Because I feel that I have a strong message and I want people to use hard times to grow and make themselves better and not use it as an excuse to make their situation worse.
Okay, now let's make it about you. How do you feel when the stuff that you're putting out impacts people?
I feel amazing because it continues to reinforce that there was purpose in a lot of the pain that I went through when I was younger.
There's your why. You feel fulfilled turning the tremendous pain that you felt into a sense of purpose. And that purpose is acknowledged when you hear from people who listen to your podcast. That's your why. That's the intrinsic source of motivation for you. It's not about them. Anybody who wants to make a difference in the world, the reason why you're motivated to do that is because it feels so good for you. I'm dead serious about this, and there's nothing selfish about it. That's why it feels so good to volunteer. It's why it feels so good to give back, because you get something. You get affirmed as a human being that your time, your energy, your pain matters. And that's so important. So now that you feel that feeling inside your body of why you want this thing, because it makes you feel like you matter, it makes you come alive, whatever the reason is, now you're going to close your eyes. And you said the hardest thing for you is going to be to invest money in growing this podcast. So I want you to close your eyes and I want you to describe for me an image of how much money and what you're actually investing in. Okay, so describe that scene for me. Put me at the scene.
So I'm investing in production. I'm investing in somebody to help me do some of the tedious tasks that I'm working, that I'm like staying up super, super late. That's can be overwhelming at times because I still do have a training business. I'm investing in travel to network with other podcasters and meet different people at conferences.
Mm-hmm. And as you see the money going out the door, what are you feeling that's negative in your body?
It's uncertainty
Where do you feel it in your body?
in my legs.
You feel it in your legs? Okay.
Yeah. And I don't know why. I think it's because I hold a lot of stress in my hips, but
Well, it's that you know what that is, by the way, is that's your nervous system feeling uncertainty. That's where you feel it.
right.
This is how you manifest properly, by the way. Right here. You have to visualize in your mind writing the check and feeling the pain in your legs of uncertainty. You have to visualize in your mind sitting in that plane seat, flying to a conference, feeling the pit in your stomach, being worried about whether or not anyone's going to take you seriously because there's all these big podcasters there. You need to feel your chest contract and squeeze in as you walk up to somebody that you deeply admire and you start a conversation, or you walk up to an event organizer and say, I'd like to apply to be on a panel next year. How do I do that? And your chest gets really tight because you feel like you don't belong there because you don't have the numbers yet, or whatever your stupid story is. When you picture that in your mind and you feel the negative sensation in your body, you are doing resistance training. This is how you align your mind, body, and spirit to not resist the hard stuff. Here's a cool fact about your brain. Your brain doesn't know the difference between you actually spending the money, buying the plane ticket, getting on the plane and flying to that event, or are you imagining it in your mind? And when you run through the hard things that you're avoiding in your mind and you allow yourself to feel the negative sensation in your body, you are training and mentally rehearsing the exact same way Olympic athletes do with the 9 sports psychologists that the U.S. Olympic team has to help our athletes prepare. You are mentally rehearsing before the actual event so that your mind and your body are trained to anticipate and push right on through all the stuff that's scary because you've already rehearsed it. That's how you use manifesting to help you do the work to get what you want.
Wow. I'm so grateful that we kind of brought that up and that you helped walk me through this.
What did you get out of that?
Well, I became aware of not only what I need to do, but like what's the fear that's attached to it.
What is the fear?
Well, the fear is always going to be uncertainty or scarcity, because I think the one thing that's been beneficial to me in my life is that I've always had my back against the wall, from being somebody who was a convicted felon in jail, not growing up with a ton of money, that sort of thing, where I've always been forced to just hustle, work, where I'm used to this kind of situation. But on the flip side, the negative is I'm so used to being stressed because I grew up in a stressful environment. I put myself in a stressful environment from selling drugs and doing drugs for a majority of my life when I was younger, so that a lot of times now I've had to become aware of when I'm creating more stress around something that's a good thing instead of something that I would have seen back in the day as something that was bad or whatever.
So in 1990, I was a senior in college at Dartmouth, and my parents came to visit from Western Michigan, and we went to this place called Simon Pierce, which is a famous glass blowing mill. And as we walked into the restaurant, I had an experience that you may be able to relate to, and that is I walked in and I immediately saw this painting hanging on the wall, and it was about the size of a door, only horizontal, and it was a Vermont landscape. And I was drawn into it immediately. Like, I was no longer in that restaurant. I was standing in that field. I could feel that breeze. I had never, ever had an experience like that with a painting. Have you ever had an experience like that with art?
No, I mean, not like that. Not like that. I mean, my sense was that this is very atypical for you.
Very. So I kind of lost it. The restaurant was quiet, and then I leaned back. I'm suddenly kind of back in the moment. I'm like, I'm going to own this painting someday. That was what was right there. And I looked at the price and it said like $3,000. I'm like, not today. And I went back and I sat down, and that was it. But the painting never left my mind. You see, there's something called the Zygon Arc Effect. I always say it wrong, but it's like there's a checklist in your brain that when you have a moment where you're like, this is important, your brain puts it on a checklist.
Yeah, there's like a notch.
Yes, a notch happens. And now your brain, as part of the filter in the brain, is always going to be kind of scanning the subconscious to let anything into your mind related to that incident. It can be positive, by the way, like with the painting, or this is how trauma happens too. Like you have this high intensity emotional experience that notches something in your brain, and now your brain kicks in to remember. So bottom line is, I always thought about that painting. Years go by. Whenever somebody would say Vermont, I'd think of the painting. I don't know why. I can't explain it. Never wanted a painting before. Was not an art student. It's going to law school.
It's not like you're out collecting art.
No.
Yes.
Yeah.
And
so I, fast forward the story 10 years, and my Chris and I are engaged, and we're going to go up to Vermont to see the leaves. And immediately I'm like, we got to go to Simon Pierce. I got to show you the painting. So we pull up to the mill and we walk in, and right in front there is, boom, a painting by the same artist, Gail Shepard. And I'm like, oh my God, it's here. And we race all around the place, and it's gone. And the funny thing was, and this is the way your brain works, Chris was more disappointed than I was. I literally turned to him and said, it's okay, dude. Like, it'd be weird if we're still here after 10 years. I'm going to track this thing down. I actually said to him, you know what's going to happen, Chris? I'm going to be able to buy this like 40 years from now. It's going to be hanging in the corporate lobby of some building, and I'm going to have to track down the owner and pay like quadruple the money they pay. But I'm going to own this
have a
damn
mission
thing.
now,
I have
though.
mission, yes. So a couple years pass, and it's my birthday. I think I was turning 30, and Chris gets a couple people to give money. And he said I could buy anything I wanted with it. So I had what, $500? Now, I'm pregnant at the time with our first kid. I should have bought a crib or stools, but for whatever reason, the Zygon Arc Effect takes over, and I'm like, the painting. So I call the mill, and I get this guy on the phone. I'm like, I want to buy a Cale Shepherd piece. And I said, could you send me Polaroids? And he's like, sure. And I tell him the budget, and he goes, I'll send you Polaroids of some of her smaller things.
Mm-hmm.
And
she's like blowing up in the meantime, right?
Yeah, she's a very, very successful Vermont landscape artist. And so I say to him, by the way, there's this one painting. And I describe the painting I'd seen over 10 years ago. And he said, well, that was way before my time, but I bet Gail will know. And I'm like, Gail? You know Gail? He's like, of course I know Gail. She like lives in down the road. Here's her number. So for 2 days, I paced around the apartment with $500 in my pocket, driving Chris crazy. Because I felt like, what am I going to say to her? And I must be a weirdo. I've been stalking this lady. I've been thinking about her for 10 years. I can't afford a painting. Who am I to buy a painting? Like, what the hell? So finally, Chris is like, would you call her? I'm going to call her. You're driving me crazy. So I call her, and I start talking a mile a minute, and she was amazing. And then I said, by the way, there was this one painting. And I go and I explain this painting. There's a stand of poplar trees down the center and a big mountainscape behind it, and this beautiful blue Vermont sky and geese flying in formation overhead. And I could hear her thinking on the other end of the line. And she said, Mel, I've done so many large-scale paintings over the years. I'd hate to mistake the one you're talking about. But I'll tell you what. What if my husband and I meet you and Chris at the mill at Simon Pierce? And we'll walk all around and have lunch, and I'll tell you the stories behind every painting. And if you don't see what you like there, I'll take you back to my studio, which is a couple miles down the river. And you can look at everything I'm working on. And if you don't see anything you like there, then you can go through all my slides and see if you can find that painting that you saw 10 years ago. And I said, deal. So a month passes. We go up to the mill. I walk in. We meet each other. She's amazing. She's like twice our age, just an incredibly cool lady. She's walking around. As we're walking around looking at these paintings, Rich, I'm like 8 months pregnant. I'm realizing these are 10 times the amount of money that I have.
Mm-hmm.
I can't afford this. Like, I don't have this kind of money. And I'm getting like more and more into that imposter syndrome. What am I doing mode? Oh my God, I'm so embarrassed. I'm meeting somebody I idolize. I don't deserve to be here.
Right. Wasting her time because she thinks she's going to get a payday out of this.
Correct. We sit down, and she goes, now that you're sitting down, I have something to tell you. She said, there's only been 2 times in my career as an artist that I've done 2 studies of the same piece. And your painting is one of them. It's one of a pair.
She knew all along.
She knew all along.
She was playing games with you about not knowing which painting.
Yeah. And she said, the sister piece to the one that you saw all those years ago is sitting in my studio right now, where it's been for the past 11 years. I start sobbing. Everybody's like totally emotional. Her husband's like, you should have seen her when she was on the phone with you. It was like she saw a ghost. So we get in the car and we drive to the mill. And when we walk in, there in the center of this massive kind of barn studio space is an easel with a painting taped up with painter's tape on it. And it was the sister to my painting. There were slight differences, not as much movement in the grass, but it was one of the most extraordinary experiences of my life. It was as if time suspended, and I was standing before that painting in 1990, saying it would be mine. And there I was 11 years later, standing in front of it. And then I realized, oh my God, I can't afford this. And Chris walks over and he's like, what's wrong? And I'm like, just promise me someday, like promise me that I don't need a jewelry. I don't need a car. Like, just promise me you will buy me this thing. And he kind of leans over and goes, hey, Gail, how much for the big one? And she said, Mel can have it for $500 because clearly when I was making it 11 years ago, I was making it for her. Yeah. And so it hangs in my kitchen. It's on the back of the book.
This is the galley, though, right?
Yeah.
So wait, is it in the? Is it in
I think so. Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's a reminder every day that your mind is designed to help you get what you want. I never stopped believing that I could make it happen. And when you tell your mind what's important to you, there is extraordinary science that proves that your mind has a live and ever-changing filter, a live network that changes how it views the world, what it lets in, what it blocks out. And if you program your mind correctly, and if you're clear about what you want to create, your mind will help you get what you want. Hey, it's Mel. Thank you so much for checking this video out. And if you like this one, I have a feeling you're going to like this one too. I'll see you there.